Hey everybody, Scott here. Just going to go over the lesson plan that I created for power on stalls. So this is a ground lesson for a student in the private pilot pursuit. So here's where I'll start. It's going to be primarily in what is the power on stall. So it's a stall in which, as the name implies, there's full power on as it stalls. So this power on stall, what we're really getting at is that we're simulating what an airplane does when it stalls on takeoff or departure. So for the objective, we're going to familiarize the pilot with the conditions that produce a stall, and really the number one objective in all stalls is not to learn how to stall a plane, but the objective is to learn the characteristics that the plane is exhibiting before it stalls, so that the habit of taking prompt and preventative corrective action can be done right away, quickly. We want to learn what the plane feels like, what it might be telling you right before it stalls, and that is the whole objective of any type of stall training. It's not in order to do it, but it is in order to recognize before it happens. So this image is taken from the Airplane Flying Handbook, and it's a great side shot of what a power on stall is demonstrating, what it looks like, and what it's supposed to do as we fly this maneuver. So we're going to reduce lift so much so that the airplane gives a little buffet and falls momentarily, and then we're going to return to a normal flying speed and stop our descent and establish a climb and return to a normal attitude. So that's the objective here. Before we dive into steps into how to do that, first I want to talk about the angle of attack. So in this picture on the left in number 1, this is the side view of the wing here. And as you can see in picture A, it's got the 10 degrees, and then as we increase our angle up, we go to B, and that's a 16 degree angle, and you can see the transition from A to B. The wind is flowing smoothly over the wing in A, and then as we increase our wing, we're going to get those little wisps in B that are on the back of the wing. And that is a disrupted airflow over the wing, and that if you allow it to go further, as in picture C, it develops fully so that the wing loses all lift. Now, in some airplanes that is in my flight school, we have an angle of attack indicator, and as you transition from picture A, 10, 16, 17, A, B, and C, the angle of attack is going to look like this. This is what it's going to be indicating to you. So as a student pilot, as you learn what the plane feels like, it's going to be important to include this angle of attack in your sight picture so that you don't let it get too far until you learn what the plane is telling you. All right, now, as you look at number 3, picture number 3, this is a plane in the middle of a stall, and if you see these the depiction here is the wind flowing over the wing. You can see that towards the cabin of the aircraft, the stall has developed fully, but if you look on the outside towards the wing tips, the air is flowing smoothly over the wings. This is called a root tip stall, and this is really great for our instructional aircraft because in number 4, picture number 4, you can see the root stall here develop, and where the red is where it's stalled. Now, as you can see, the ailerons are still developing lift, which means you can control the aircraft. Picture number 2 shows where the root stalls occur, where the tip stalls occur, based on the plan form of the wing. So as you fly a lot of different aircraft, you should be reminded of this plan form before you fly a new wing, a new aircraft that you've maybe never flown before, because the characteristics of a stall will be different in each aircraft. So now that we've gone over some of the ground lessons, we'll climb into the airplane and do some steps and show what it's like. So I like the demonstration method first, where as the CFI explain and demonstrate, and then slowly transition into the student doing it more. So I'll do it once as I explain it and do it, and then I'll let you explain it as I do it. And then the third time we'll do it, I'll let you explain it and you do it. So we'll do that a couple of times of you explaining and you doing. And then once you're comfortable, I'll let you just do it without having to explain it, and I'll evaluate. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do some clearing turns. And that's very important, because if you don't get in the habit of doing clearing turns while you're practicing, you're probably not going to do clearing turns when you're on a check ride. Now, it's important to start the maneuver above 1500 AGL, because if you don't, you won't be able to recover above that. So next, one thing that we're going to do is simulate a takeoff. So we're going to slow down. Don't recommend slowing to your rotation speed, but you want to be around 5 to 10 knots above rotation. And then slowly you're going to lift the nose and add full power, and that's going to put you into a climb attitude. Your nose is going to be brought smoothly up into an attitude that is obviously impossible for the aircraft to maintain, and you're just going to hold it there until a full stall occurs. And what you need to do is you need to immediately acknowledge the indications of a stall before the stall happens. Once the stall occurs, you release your back pressure, apply full power if there's any more left, and you're going to reduce that pitch angle and let the airspeed pick up. So next, once you are at that airspeed, you're going to gain airspeed to VX or VY, depending on what the instructor tells you. Either one is fine, depending on how low to the ground you are. So the standards that will be judged by in your check ride is going to be a plus or minus 10 for bank and heading if you're doing the private. If you're demonstrating this in a commercial, it's plus or minus 5 on the bank and plus or minus 10 on the heading. And the standards say that you need to recognize and recover promptly on the onset of a stall. And so for a private pilot, you're going to fully develop the stall. But if you're a commercial, you just have to recognize the very first indication of a stall. So whether that's the stall warning horn, if that's a little buffeting, if that's some mushy controls, verbalize that you're recognizing it, that you can see it, you're aware of it. That's very important. Some common errors that we already talked about, a few of them. You're not going to clear the area. That's a big one. If you start this a little bit too fast, if you pitch up too quickly, you don't meet your heading or bank control standards. If you're really rough, if you don't recognize the first onset indication of the stall, or if you're a private pilot and you don't let the stall develop completely on your check ride, that's a very common error. And then if you lose too much altitude, too much speed on your recovery, so you're not fast enough, you don't promptly recover. And then one thing that we'll get into after this lesson is a secondary stall. So we'll go over that before the check ride, of course. But some of the sources here for my lesson plan is listed here. I'm going to include that as well for you guys to check out. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Safe flying.